Good morning. My name is Richard, and I've got a little thought for the day, for today, Wednesday, the 19th of April. And I'm taking a reading from John chapter 20, the end of the chapter, and it's the story about the doubting Thomas. So let me first read the text to you, and then let's have a little mull over the story. Okay, so here goes. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Now Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hands into his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Through the doors, although the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book, but these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Wow, what a hugely powerful piece that is, isn't it, at the end of John's chapter there? And isn't it just so full of drama and high emotion? I mean, just imagine those disciples locked up in that room in the upper house. They're basically hiding away from the Jewish leaders. They're terrified of being found out. But imagine their emotion as well. They've basically run away from Jesus, who they've been following for 3 years and been just with him every single day. And then at the crucial moment, as he's on the cross, they've run away and just deserted him. And of course, Peter in particular has just denied him. So imagine the emotional drama, the guilt, and everything else. It's just hugely, it's just such emotionally charged, isn't it? And then, the door is locked, but Jesus just appears to them, as he has said, but they never really understood. He just appears there in full life form and just shows them his hands and his side. So there's absolutely no doubt that that is him. And he says his first words to them are, "Peace be with you." And he says it again. So imagine how their guilt is just multiplied by that. They've basically deserted him and run away. But his first words are, "Peace be with you." In other words, I forgive you. Whatever you've done, it's okay with me. So that is just so charged. But Thomas, we don't know why he wasn't there. I mean, it's just possible that the text just doesn't tell us, but just reading between the lines, it's possible that he was just hiding somewhere else, or that he'd gone out for an errand to get some food or something, who knows. But anyway, his immediate reaction is, "Oh, I don't believe it. I'd have to have the real proof, the proof points of seeing his hands and his side." But possibly he's really very miffed. His emotions might be, why didn't Jesus appear to me? What have I done? What's the matter with me? So maybe he's full of just a little bit of resentment there that he wasn't part of the party. So we don't know, do we? But then a week later, what happens? Jesus appears again. And so how does Thomas feel about that? Well, it turns out that he doesn't look for the proof, does he? He doesn't immediately go and examine Jesus' hands, or at least the text doesn't suggest that. So he's forgotten about his proof points. He just amazingly says, my Lord, my God. So he just accepts Jesus by his presence there. He is just bowled over completely by that. And I think, isn't that just a lesson to us? You know, do we spend our lives looking for proof about the gospel and Jesus' presence and being the Son of God and all that? Well, I can only talk from my own experience that has never been my driving force. I've never looked for sort of legal proof points and how would it stand in a court of law, although I know others have. But to me, it's more about the encounters and the presence. So Jesus standing there in that room just feels to me like how our little everyday occurrences of where we seem to meet Jesus in encounters that we feel ourselves we can't cope with, but somehow we're just aware of his presence. My own story is that I've had such an encounter when I was quite young, and then I think it was just reinforced by other people, particularly that have had similar encounters and are aware of the presence of Jesus. And I think that's what's driven me, really. Anyways, we each have our own story, don't we, about how we've encountered the presence of Jesus, whether it's proof from particular points or just an awareness somehow of the Holy Spirit and Jesus being with us. Anyway, just that's my thought on this and a reflection. So try not to be a Thomas, but then, Thomas, as it turned out, was completely convinced. And that's what we're so glad about. And that's how we live, I think, isn't it? So that's my very simple thought for the day. It's an amazing passage. I think it just stands out in the Gospels as a real point of high drama and huge emotion. So let's just carry that with us and carry it through the day, knowing Jesus' presence. We just know that he's there and with us for eternity. Thank you for listening, and God bless you for this day. Have a wonderful day, and just be aware of Jesus' presence in so many things we do, if not everything. Okay, so God bless you. Goodbye.